Hello, all, and welcome to another episode of The Legacy Leaders. Scott McMeans here today with Dr. Eric Fate of Dr. Eric Fate Prime X. We're going to talk about a number of different things, an interesting business model that Dr. Eric has come up with for his business. But before we get into all that, I'm going to allow him the floor to tell you who he is, what he does, and why he does it so much better than anybody else. So, Dr. Eric, the microphone and the camera are yours, my friend. Go ahead and
Hey,
tell the audience all about yourself.
awesome. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you being having me on the show. Appreciate your graciousness and courtesy. So yeah, I'm hoping I can provide some value for listeners. So yeah, as Scott mentioned, Eric Fate, I'm a physician up in Ohio. Been a physician for like 20 years now. Always been involved in health and fitness, I guess, and nutrition based on always been an athlete, and my parents were both teachers, so I love to learn. I got into the world of medicine originally in the traditional model. I was an ER doctor for some time. I was the director of my ER for several years, and then kind of always had that, thinking a couple steps ahead, looking what else. And but when I guess the genesis of what I do now, I guess my secret origin story is just that. And then I kind of start seeing younger and younger people with very unhealthy, and then you start seeing young people with medical conditions that they really shouldn't even have for another 50 years, when they're 30 something years old on 10 medicines, overweight, disabled, and just not doing anything. And I start thinking, holy crap, dude, this could have been prevented with a healthier lifestyle, just some better choices. And a lot of it is they just didn't know, they weren't taught, but they didn't learn on their own. I thought there's got to be a better way to prevent this. That's what got me into the preventive side of things, like kind of helping people stay healthy, get healthy before they get to the point where they need surgeries and drugs and all the stuff that the traditional U.S. healthcare model is built on. I won't get too much into that. There's a lot of politics and economics involved that I kind of forced my hand. Glad I did, especially pre-COVID, because there's a lot of things, a lot of rabbit holes I went down, learned about the system that's very not good. So I got into the preventive side of things. I started doing more of a kind of a cosmetic regenerative practice, got into the world of hormone therapy, bioidentical hormones. Then I started learning about medical peptides. Um, Biomodulators, regenerative therapies, longevity medicine, gut health, functional medicine, kind of every door opened five more. And I just started learning,
Mhm.
getting certified and trained in all these things, learn from the best in the world. Now I'm part of a big international community of docs that just specializes in longevity and just trying to constantly learn. We're learning more and more every day what we don't know. But that's anyway, I moved out of my brick and mortar clinics several years ago, and then now I do everything telemedicine. So I have a telemedicine practice. I can do anything and prescribe, do any kind of advanced test from afar. And I've got patients all around the country. I've even consulted patients in like New Zealand and, uh, uh, you know, Greece and a couple other countries across the pond. I can't prescribe over there, but I can give advice. So yeah, so it's been a lot of fun, and I'm just looking to grow and help people out. I've got my tons of free content on my YouTube channel. I've got a free books on my website and my own protein powder products and cleanses, and so I'm just trying to grow the business and offer some teach people how to live healthier, stronger, better. It's all about living better. And then my ultimate message, not just to I want to make people feel better, because my message is live to give. I want people to feel good physically, mentally, prevent illness, make them feel better so they can feel better themselves, and then go help someone else and make them feel better and pass it forward. So live to give is kind of my ultimate message.
I love that. So there's a lot to unwind here. There's a
Right?
lot of good stuff. No, I appreciate it because being in a brick and mortar clinic is much different than what you're doing now. Treating problems as opposed to understanding how to prevent the problem, a very different approach to medicine. And
Right.
being in medical device for as many years as I was in, I always found it interesting that when I was responsible for the global business, United States was so reactionary to every problem that a patient would go through. But in Europe and Asia, they were unbelievably proactive in finding ways to prevent something from getting worse before it actually got incredibly worse. So I'm intrigued by your message because I truly believe that there's a reason why the younger people of today are getting sicker with quote unquote older level diseases than we've seen in the past. And it's because of our diet, it's because of our lack of understanding of nutrition. And I really believe there's this culture of, well, just take a pill, you'll be fine.
Right.
Well, wait a minute, but what's that pill going to do? And if you watch commercials on TV or you listen to them on radio, wherever, the side effects they ramble off at the end of the commercial, it's like, you know what?
Horrible.
I'm fine with whatever ailment I have. Why do I want to go through all that? It's like
Right?
we're solving a problem, but creating two to three more. Like, why are we doing that? And the education part, I think, is one of the bigger components that we miss in the United States. I don't know what happened to physical education in schools. I don't know what happened to health and nutrition in schools, but we've kind of just gone away from it. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, oh gosh, God, I could ramble for an hour on this topic, but yeah, to your point, absolutely. That's one of the tenets of my philosophy is like getting back to nature, and I'm kind of like to blend the old and the new, right? I mean, there's a lot of cool new technology and medical peptides and hormones, but I'm big on like the wisdom of the ancients, right? Getting back to nature, getting if you look at my social media, I'm always talking about getting outside, getting away from the Wi-Fi and the phones and the artificial lights and getting your feet in the grass, grounding, getting out in forest bathing, and being outside in the sun. The power of the sun and what it can do for your body is absolutely amazing. So whenever I start a treatment program for a patient, I always start with the free stuff, right? Getting outside, movement, sunlight, grounding, fresh air, constant movement throughout the day. Just, like our bodies are meant to move, the healthy cultures, the blue zones, all these things you read about, people are constantly moving, they're gardening, they're walking, they're hiking, community, they're talking face to face. How many times do you go out and you see everybody's faces buried in their phones? It's like nobody knows how to communicate anymore. It's like get out and talk and read body language and touch people, and you have that sense of community. So I always start with that, and that's huge. So I think it's, I could go down the nefarious, stories of, the powers that be, the deep state. All they want us dumb. They want us on drugs. They want us on Wi-Fi and blue light and chemicals to dumb us down to make us easy to control. I could go down. I'm not going to go there. I mean, that's a conversation
You're
for another
fine.
day. There's a lot of truth to that. Unfortunately, it's sad but true. But let's just say again, it all comes down to economics and politics. There's the traditional medical model, big pharma, they run everything, all this stuff. There's money in medicine. There's money in keeping us on phones and ads and buying things online. Why do you think the casinos have no windows and blue light everywhere? It fosters addictive behavior in the brain. This is proven by science, by the way. It's not just me rambling. It's like the blue light, all these things that it makes you want to buy, it makes you want to order things. They serve you alcohol. They turn out that they block the blinds. It's like there's something about blue light and all these different things, a lot of stuff. So I think it's all monetary. I think there's bad reasons, and not that they all started that way, but it's all about money and politics. Unfortunately, that's the big thing. So for me, it's about breaking free of that and being healthy. Like I said, living how we were meant to live. We were meant to live, as much as possible, getting outside and talking and helping our fellow man and being healthy, eating real food, constant movement throughout the day, lifting things, moving our bodies, working our brain, helping other people. So it's a long discussion, but that I think that's kind of the issue there. So it's just about getting back to our base, getting back to our roots. So let's use technology for what it's for and as a good thing, but let's not depend on it. Let's not rely on everything. You can't fix everything with a pill or a shot or a magic app. On some point you have to do the work. You have to read,
Mhm.
you have to journal and meditate and pray and lift heavy things and move and eat right, stuff like that. But it's not that hard.
Well, I agree with you. And there's plenty of folks that would argue that, well, genetically I'm predisposed to being fat, or I'm big boned, or I can't do this, that, and the other thing. I understand the victim mentality that has been thrust upon our society, but at some point there's a level of accountability that comes with this, right?
Right.
Because last I checked, there's nobody else holding that fork or spoon, and there's nobody else making the decision what you put into your mouth. So
Right.
let's be a little bit more cognitive of our own responsibility in this role. And what I find interesting, going back to what you did to start this telemedicine practice. All right, there is a need for telemedicine, and you found this niche, or you found this interesting little need, and you provide a service that goes above and beyond what their normal doctor can do, because your availability is almost, I wouldn't say instantaneously, right? Because you have appointments and whatnot. But your availability is better than what availability they would have from a doctor that's in brick and mortar. Am I off my rocker on that?
No, spot on. So I pride my number one. Yeah, I'm more I'm definitely more free. It's like I'm not, booking months out. You have to wait, go through a phone tree, talk to 20 staff members and this and that. And there's not a big team. It's just me. So they get me, when they call and they email, they get me, they don't go through my my secretary and my provider, my assistant, and this and that. Like they get me, only me. They don't have to worry about three other providers. Like, oh, well, this doc did last time. What did he do last time? Oh, let me look it up. Like, no, I know because I'm working with you. And yeah, and I pride myself on trying to get back to people very quickly. So that's one thing I hear over and over that people love, that when they message me on my private portal or they have a question about a treatment protocol, I get back to them very, very quickly. So that's one of the things that's one of the advantages. I guess that's one of the of working with me. So not only can they get a hold of me quickly, they just get me, and I know them. I know my patients very well, so I can make things customized for them. And I try to make a customized protocol for everyone. I see it all the time on online, on social media. Like everybody's promoting this, promoting that, but it's always these big companies or groups that are like kind of cookie cutter programs, and they kind of treat
Mhm.
everybody the same way, and it just doesn't work that way. I mean, there's a lot of carryover, but everybody's unique, everybody's different. And to your point, like, yeah, there's genetic differences amongst everyone, which I do take into account, but that only goes so far. Like you said, there's a lot of personal accountability. Epigenetics trumps genetics, meaning that maybe they have some genetic tendency to, they can't eat certain foods, like they're more intolerant of fats or carbohydrates or different things, but that's why you're fat or that's why you're out of shape, or that doesn't cut, that just doesn't, it just doesn't work, right? Because epigenetics mean the influence of your environment on your genes trumps that. That's 90% of the battle. So even if you have a genetic tendency for XYZ, you can overcome that with proper lifestyle. So unfortunately, that is kind of a little bit of an excuse. And like I said, I do take that into consideration. Sometimes I do have to make some tweaks based on their genetic profile, but that's not the biggest mover in the room. There's a lot of other things that trump that.
Yeah, I appreciate you walking down that path because it's one of those things that I wouldn't say it's frustrating. It's just disappointing to listen to people fall on their bed of excuses as opposed to just admitting I
Right.
am what I am because I decided to do this. Let's get into the business side of things because this is an interesting way of treating a traditional environment, which is our United States healthcare. So, how did you make the decision to go from brick and mortar into telemedicine?
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting. So I had the brick and mortar. I had a practice with a partner, and then I had another colleague of mine who I just knew, and he had his own kind of business, and he brought me on to help him with his HRT, his hormone optimization clinic, and I was doing that kind of part time and helping him. Um, we kind of had some business things that just happened that it looked like we are going to close up shop anyway. But I had already started my telemedicine practice at the time anyway. I was kind of running it even before all that. But it was kind of more of a thing to build up slowly on my own, and I really want to make a kind of a true business, right? I wanted to do what I'm doing now, but also have like some things that I could just like a true business, that things that sell without me, like whether it's products or courses and things like that. So and then COVID came along, and it kind of basically, I don't want to say it forced my hand, but it definitely sped things up because that everybody was kind of going online at that point. A lot of things were temporarily shutting down. So I was like, this is kind of like a message from above, right? This is kind of a sign, so it kind of shifted that way. And I have a lot of trainers and coaches who I knew that were referring patients to me at the time. And that kind of picked up because they're like, hey, I can't get Joe Smith in, but especially nobody's seeing patients right now. Can you help them? So, and it just kind of went from there. So it was a perfect transition time. So it was just, I guess the timing was just perfect. How the stars lined up, and it just made sense. I was traveling and driving to this offices, and there was a lot of commuting. So for me, I was like, this is a heck of a lot easier just to save time and gas, just to work from home and do telemedicine. And like I was talking about at the beginning, yes, I love nature and there's advantages to using the tech, but so again, use the best of both worlds, right? So that's kind of what I did, and I kind of ran with it. So now I'm just doing all telemedicine and running it. I may, open up a little clinic at some point in the near future here. That's still in my thought process, but right now I'm just running this as is. So that's kind of, so it was just timing, I think, the way things were going with the business, and then COVID hit, and kind of all the telemedicine clinics kind of took off, and then our businesses kind of shut down anyway. We had some changing of the guard. The one business got sold, bought out got an offer to buy it out, and from my partner, and he bought it. And I didn't get anything from that, but I was just working there part time anyway. But so it just all the timing just worked out. So, and I'm glad it did. So it's much cleaner, much smoother this way.
Yeah, so you say it's much cleaner, much smoother. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the challenge of running your own show, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I would assume, and I because I'm not in the space, I don't know, but not being able to see, touch, or like legitimately witness a patient, how do you get over the challenge of giving them clear diagnosis when you haven't technically seen them live and in person.
Yeah, that's the one thing I do miss, because I'm a touchy-feely guy. I'm a personal guy. I love to shake hands and look people in the eye, and that's so I do miss that. I'll be honest with you. But that being said, I do all Zoom calls so I could still talk to people face to face like you and I are doing right now. And granted, that's not the same thing as touching them physically, but I can read body language. I can see communicate much more clearly that way on a Zoom call than I can on a phone call, and I can get a good feel for what's bothering them, what's really going on. And a lot of things that I'm doing in terms of longevity, whether it's, weight loss or hormone
Hmm.
optimization or gut health issues, a lot of times there's nothing physically to see. I mean, I have all my patients, see their regular physician for normal physicals and checkups and send me records if needed. So that kind of stuff. But most of the time, you're not going to, Biden, me not touching them, I'm not really missing much. I can get 99% of what I need from the history. And that's true in a lot of medicine anyway. Most of the story, the classics, and the truly great physicians and clinicians through the years and the decades have always taught and written that, you know, 99%, 90% plus of the diagnosis is in the history. And it's true.
Mm.
Dr. Cope, Sir Cope, I think, he wrote a classic treatise on, surgery and medicine, decades and decades ago. And, a lot of the great physicians, they for the few years before all this cool diagnostic technology and blood work, that's all they had was their hands and their ears to listen. And it's true. And the art, that's kind of, even in the traditional medical world, even when I was an ER doctor, is like, people were losing that skill to listen and to use their hands, and like the art of physical diagnosis and history taking. Everybody relies on labs and the cool new technology. A lot of docs don't even they don't do anything, and they just order tests and order a scan, and like you got to listen to the patient and actually touch them. And so for what I'm seeing, I don't, me not touching them, there's not much I'm missing. So most of it's from the history, and then of course I just can still do any lab work, any diagnostic testing from afar, and that's going to tell me anything that I need to know on top of what I'm communicating and back and forth with the patient. So there's not, it pretty much filling in all the gaps.
Interesting parallel. I just listening to you talk about this. What I see as an interesting parallel is you're saying, as a physician on telemedicine, it's easier for me to make a diagnosis because I know who they are based on their history, but I'm listening to them. Now I want to take that into a context of I am a business trying to touch base with my customer, and I know who they are, but all I need to do is listen to them and I can be a better provider of value.
Right.
That's a really cool lesson for anybody trying to be a good business person
Yeah.
is get to know who your target market is,
Right.
listen to what they're telling you and respond accordingly. I think we spend so much time, again, don't get me wrong, data is great, but we spend so much time thinking what we know instead of just going out and learning what we need to know.
True. That's true. And you're
Right.
right. With a patient or with a business, sometimes you may ask a question, they may tell you something. It's like sometimes you have to ask that question and go like that whole 7 layers deep, right? Like,
Mhm.
well, I want more sales. Well, why do you want more sales? Well, what are you not getting? And then you finally get to the root of the matter. It's like, I don't like to talk on the phone, or I don't have good ads, or whatever. You got to get to the root of the issue. Same
Mhm.
with me. Like, I want to lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight? And it finally comes down to, oh, I've got a wedding in 8 months and I got to look good in a dress. Oh, now I got it. And so now I can
Yeah.
really hone in on what, there's always an emotional why or some kind of deeper reason for everything, whether it's medical or business. So yeah, that's where it comes down to asking the right questions and spending time and actually listening, so it's an art.
Well, and it's an unfulfilled skill that gets developed too late in the game for most people, right? And that's why I think this is such an interesting series, and talking to people like yourself is we get a chance to tell people, showcase to them that all the lessons you need are the lessons you've already learned. You just need to like engage and install them into your life, whether it's
Right.
your business or your life, right? Because being accountable for your own actions is a lot more has a lot more to do with your success than people give it credit for.
True.
And when you're talking about your business, I mean, you made comment you had some business partners and different things went on before you started PrimeX, but the decision to start PrimeX was built on the idea of I want to be better at what I do, and I can't keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
So wanting to be better is one of the bigger things that everybody needs, because if you don't want to be better, you're just going to hang out all day and eat bonbons and watch Netflix, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So, what would you say is one of the bigger lessons you've learned now that you've been up and running for a while and you're running your own shop? It's you doing this. What's a good lesson that you think people should learn?
In terms of like health or business or
Business, like, I mean,
yeah.
health. Honestly, I think you and I could talk for hours on the health side
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's frustrating um, to see the victimization that everybody has with their own contribution to their demise. I don't get it, but it
Right,
is
right.
what it is, right? So that being aside, what's the lesson that a good business lesson that a business owner should learn based on what you've experienced?
I think for me the hardest part, the thing I'm been slowly getting to is um, getting help. And there's a was a
Mhm.
good book called 10x is easier than 2x, and I kind of I'm sure you're familiar with it, but basically,
Mhm.
a lot of solo entrepreneurs, solopreneurs are, and especially, physicians, and it's tough to let go of the reins of certain things. Like I want to do everything, you want to do everything yourself, but you're kind of limiting yourself, and kind of like the classic, what is it, the E myth, right? That's been how
Mhm.
many decades ago is that? It's kind of like, working on your business versus working in your business, and it's been hard for me to do that. And some of it is just it's like a catch 22. It's like you got to raise the revenue to pay for people, and then you can't do that until how do you do that if you don't have it?
Yeah.
So it's like you got to do it yourself until you have the money. So it's kind of a catch 22 for me about having the funny. Yeah, I'd love to hire all these people to do all this work for me, but I don't have the cash for it. But at some point, you got to start small. So I've been, in terms of like, I have a guy who helps me with some of my marketing. Like he's very good at, him and his team, in terms of helping me with social media and video creation. Then I have an assistant who's helping me, which is clerical work, like doing medication refills and responding to patient requests, little things, and slowly kind of learning how to share, I guess, learning how to divvy up some responsibility, as opposed to doing everything myself. I mean, if I had to do all my own, SEO and ads, I mean, I wouldn't have time to see my patients, So it's at some
Right.
point, I think as a business owner, you have to learn when to delegate and when to build your team and how to do it the right way. So you're, you know what I mean? So it's an ongoing process, I think. So,
I think one of the bigger challenges most business owners that I have a chance to encounter, delegation is one of the hardest things that people have to learn how to do.
right.
It's something that doesn't come easy because as a type A or anybody who's interested in running their own business, they're doing it for a variety of reasons, of which is always common to everybody. I want to be better than I was when I was over there. So they have
Right.
this mission in their mind, which is unbelievably sound and right, but the mission is so focused that they fail to recognize I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, and I need help with this, I need help with that, and
Right.
they try to go alone, and before you know it, they're struggling because they're trying to be a jack of all trades as opposed to really identifying who is the jack out there that can help them,
Right. Right.
right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And once you recognize our delegation, and these are the rules that I was taught um, from the business coaching schools that we go to is if you're good at it, you like doing it, and it makes you money, keep doing it. Everything else you should delegate.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, now where people get confused is they think, well, there's not too many things that I'm good at, I like to do and make money. No, no, that's not what I said. Because they can be inclusive to each other. If you like doing it, it makes money, and you're good at it, go ahead and do it. But you can find something you're good at, find something you like doing, and find something that makes money. It doesn't have to be the same activity, right? So the focus of that is find something that contributes to the business that you can do and feel good about. Go ahead and do it.
Right.
Everything else, delegate to somebody else. And you know why? Because if you don't enjoy doing it, it's not going to be done well. If you're not good at it, not going to be done well. And if it doesn't make money, you're wasting time doing it because there's other things you could be doing that will in fact make you money. So separate your mind from I need to do everything because I'm the solopreneur and think about as how can I build this business better, faster, stronger if I ask for help. And that's one of the things that I'm grateful for you saying is just at some point recognize you need help. It's okay
Yeah,
to recognize you need help.
for
Just
sure.
like you and I are talking about, your business model is based on the idea of people finally recognizing I need help and they get on board with you and they realize, okay, here's somebody who can actually help me build a better lifestyle so I can live to give. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point about what you said about patients with health. Same thing. It's like, people are like doing the traditional medical model where they try one of these online things or try this. till they find something like, you know what, I need help. And I get calls all the time, like people like, hey, I found things about peptides or this, and it's like all this stuff. And they're like, I need someone to guide me. There's so much out there, and I don't know
Mhm.
what I'm doing. And it's supposed to be safe, but there's, things could happen. It's like there's information overload nowadays. So for me, my message on my videos, I try to keep things as simple as possible because it's trickier than what I mean. All the social media, quote unquote biohackers are like, it's so easy, just do this and that. It's a magic, and come work with me, even though I have no medical training. And it's like, it's not that easy. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Health and medicine and, pharmacy, whether it's peptides, there's a lot more to it under the skin. People make it look like it's easy, but you have to be very careful with it. And you need help. You need a coach, just like most people. You need someone to
Yeah.
guide you along the way.
Well, if it was easy as just take a shot of whatever drug is out there today and lose weight,
Right?
okay, go ahead and do it. But what's like again, what side effects are they rambling on and on about at the end of that that you really should be paying attention to?
Right.
I get it, it's simple and it's quick, but what are the side effects? And this is why, my charges or be the buffalo charge the storm thing makes so much sense to me is instead of taking the easy path, take the path that's going to get you the most success by just being accountable for your own stuff. And that's where it all comes to mind for me. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Um, I want to thank you for being on the program. I got one question for you.
Yeah.
If I were to put you in a time machine and send you back and sit you down next to an 18-year-old Eric Fate, you guys are in a park, hanging out on a park bench. What's that conversation like?
Holy moly, that's a good question. Whew, wow. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit. I think for sure, probably telling him some of the things that I've mentioned that, like, you know, to your point about the bull, the buffalo, it's like grab the bull by the horns and just go live life, go have fun. But
I love that.
kind of what it says in the Bible and other good books. It's like diligence, seek diligence. Find people that can help you on their way and get help along the way. Seek wise counsel, right? Because where I've gotten into trouble is rushing things or moving too fast or being too trusting as opposed to really doing a deep dive and like getting 5 or 6 people like other opinions on what do you think about this? What do you think about
Yeah.
this? It's like, so I think that's where I've made errors is like moving too quick sometimes because I just want to get stuff done, but sometimes I need to dig into it a little bit more. So it's finding that balance of sometimes you just got to take action. You don't want to have paralysis analysis, right? But at the same time, seek wise counsel, make an informed decision. You're never going to know fully 100%, but at least 78% there, then go. And then just start
Thank you.
as you go, doors will open. You'll course correct. Um, you'll go from there. So that book, Psycho Cybernetics, is a great book about that. How we're all goal striving machines. It's like just get moving, course correct as you go, and learn your lessons. We're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay, but learn
I
from it.
love
And
that. Of the mentality, of course, correct as you go, because you know, words inspire, but only change happens when action takes place.
I
And if
love
you're
that.
gonna move forward, okay, you can say all you want, but if you're not gonna do anything about it, nothing happens, right?
What's the point? Yeah, exactly.
But if
Exactly.
you get a chance to course correct, okay, that's the benefit of watching somebody who's been successful is all right, I'm running straight forward. Oh, here comes a ditch. I can either run through the ditch, jump over the ditch, or go around the ditch. What's the
Right.
smartest way to do this? And we talked about this earlier, and that is, all right, no matter how much you want to change, you're responsible and accountable for your own actions. And if you
Right.
don't know what to do next, go find somebody that can help you. But
Right.
don't go down a rabbit hole such a degree that now you know 110% of the information you need to know. 75 to 80% is the wheelhouse. Know as much as you possibly can to be knowledgeable, but you don't need to know everything. And
You
as you
don't
move
need that.
forward, you can change and make a difference. I
Right.
think it's huge. Honestly,
Absolutely.
I think that's the difference, right? One of
Yep.
my mentors way back in the day told me I make hundreds of decisions a day. If 80% of those decisions are good, I had a really good day.
Right. Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
My question to him was, well, how do I fit into that world for you? He goes, if you give me all the information you think is necessary for me to make a decision, and I make that decision, and it's a good one, we're good. If you gave me all the information necessary to make a decision, and it turned out to be a bad one, it's 1 out of 10. I'm not going to worry about it. We're moving forward no matter what. So information is key, but don't drain or don't drown yourself in information. You need to know enough to make the decision and then ultimately take action.
That's right. I love that. That's a great
Good
point.
stuff. I appreciate that. Any final words, my man? We're almost done here. This is crazy how fast the time goes.
I know. No, this has been great. Those are great questions. I love it, and I appreciate you having me on. Hopefully, everybody out there is learning some things from both of us, and just to take action. And to everybody, your listeners, to definitely seek help in regards to health and performance optimization, which is what I do. Happy to help any of your clients. Just reach out anytime and keep spreading your words of wisdom, my man. I love it.
Thank you so much for that. And I will make sure that all your contact information and whatever information you want to supply for your books, whatever the podcasts, whatever, it's all on here for people to get a chance to connect to because it's valuable information. So I want to thank you for sharing it.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you having me on, my man.
You got it. Bye now.
All right, take care. Bye.